I'm the Pharo architect since 2012. My name is Esteban Lorenzano, by the way. It's not this guy. I always forget something there. But I'm the Pharo architect since 2012. And I'm the Pharo architect because I was hired by Stefan Marcos, thanks to a little company that I made in Argentina back then when Pharo started to work precisely using Pharo because we were enthusiasts of it, and then I developed certain kind of small frameworks that get some visibility, and I presented them first in Barcelona and like that, and finally I'm here. And before that I worked in the dark side, which is everything that is around in this industry even today, like almost 15 years working in Java, from where I started as early adopter in 1995, and then I scaled up in a medium-sized company up to senior architect, and then I was about to quit the industry because I was not tolerating anymore that, and I get back to the basics, which what I first loved, which was small talk, and this is the history. So, as I say, I'm the Pharo architect. Not like in Matrix, but more like in the hard work of trying to handle a community that has a lot of passion inside and has a lot of different ideas of what their environment should be. And so, being the architect means especially trying to bring coherence to all of that impulses, all of that desires. So this talk will be about coherence. But since I also will talk a little bit about how we try to achieve that coherence, this will be mostly about coherence. Then I will digress a little bit. To talk about coherence, the first thing that we have to say is talk about Pharo in the very beginnings. In the very beginnings, Pharo has a vision. Don't worry, you do not have to read all of that.
Esteban,
but
put your mic here, not here,
like that?
Yes.
That's ridiculous.
But it's not present. Don't worry, there are no pictures.
There are no pictures, but I have
no pictures. Say hi to
and this is going to stay in posterity. Okay, I was saying, you will have to read that, but that is an extract of the Pharo Vision document, the original Pharo Vision document, which has the main goals and the main attitude of who founded Pharo. And it's an interesting lecture because, in fact, all the technical goals that were mentioned there were achieved like more than 2 or 3 years ago, so we needed to restart building technical goals because everything that they proposed is done, but the vision is always the same. So this is a summary of what is said in that huge chunk of text. Pharo Vision is to develop a clean, robust, and innovative Smalltalk that has to be free and open source, and it has also to be an attractive platform to develop mission critical and business application. And the last one, who also has generated certain discussions, is that it's a Smalltalk inspired environment, not a Smalltalk, but a Smalltalk inspired. Why we choose that phrasing is because we do not want to be married with the Smalltalk 8 implementation of Smalltalk. So we want to have the right to change the environment when we decide that that is needed. And just that. It's not that we not do small talk, but we want to do a better small talk. And since Alan Kay released 72, 76, 78, and 80, and then he stopped because he didn't want to release it, because he wanted to continue doing better versions, well, we decided to take that part of the legacy and continue improving Smalltalk as much as we can. So that's our purpose. To achieve this goal, each version, in fact, has to have something that glues everything together. We call that the story behind each version. And in a matter of some way, the story behind all Pharo versions, since I'm working in it, and of course before, but at least I can testify since 2012. The story was always the same, which is modularization. Being smaller, being better organized, being cleaner, and of course always enhance over that. But we decided to move a little bit its focus in Pharo 7, not because we are not pursuing still modularization, but because we needed to actually change something to be able to enhance that. So the story behind Pharo 7 is all about process. So why on process? Because the process we had in Pharo for doing Pharo itself was not scaling anymore. Basically, it was a pain to develop each new release. For example, each time we decided to do a release, that was mean a full month block from Marcus and me doing just the release. 1 month to do the release. Then comes Lord and says, hey, let's release often. No, you release often. I release once a year because that's 1 month of my work. But he's right, we need to release often. That's the thing. It's just that our process now was not able to deliver it. So we needed to resolve that technical debt that we accumulated using an all-time process that worked fine at the point and then it stopped working. And also, we noticed that this problem that we were having with Pharo itself, it was also present in certain of our users. They were raising their hands to speak about the problems to actually build the state-of-the-art products and with using real tools.
Don't forget about the mic.
Yes, the Microsoft. We could have scotch, for example.
You can, eh? Don't have to try.
You know, I have to try this because I was, yes? Yes, I try, but I start to move and then he goes other way. It's not that way. You know, I try to give a talk here. So I have to be concentrated in what I'm trying to express, but then I forget about the microphone. So, sorry. I continue. Okay, I'm going to, but then we will need to clean it. Okay? Or maybe we have some for throat. Okay. I was saying, I don't know what there is. Yes. Some of our users were also expressing some problems with the process that Pharo had and you need to do with Pharo. Because the process was not repeatable, because they have multiple sources, multiple kind of sources, and it was impossible to have all together. And then, of course, you cannot have a reliable build because you have to take sources from here, sources from there. And then the tools that we developed during years to try to fix that problem were not reliable. So a lot of things. So to develop this version, then we needed to put some pieces in place that in fact were more or less already there, except the third one. We started to work in all of this because we have a lot of tradition, so since 3 or 4 years ago we were seeing our problems and we were starting to prepare what now is Pharo 7 release. And this is the Bootstrap, Iceberg as a tool, and a new process itself. So I'm going to talk a little bit about these three stuff. Not much because I do not have so much time. The Bootstrap is a major effort. It even took 2 PhD. Okay, it even took 2 PhD to achieve a real version of a Bootstrap. In what is a Bootstrap? The Bootstrap is building a full image from scratch, not from another image, not from a snapshot of anything. It's just building it just from source code, from dev files. This is huge, especially for Pharo, because I know that Gemstone bootstraps all the time, so for them it's easy. And I know that GNU Smalltalk was bootstrapped too, but Pharo and other Smalltalks in general are made by mutating an image, transforming it, and creating a new version from that. And that poses a lot of problems. Poses problems too, because then if you want a production artifact that has just what you want, you have to shrink the image with different techniques. The most reliable technique was developed by Pavel in their experiments, and basically was like a butcher's job, taking cuts from here, cuts from here, cuts from here, and then of course, each time you add a new package, you have to review the full process, but because that can be but that can be affecting everything. And then, of course, that's not repeatable, and that's not very easy testable. So it's not a good way of producing a production artifact. And so we changed the focus, and now we create our image from zero, and we put them just the packages that we want. And this is a perfectly reproducible process. You just check out. No, I have 45 minutes, so I do not have 10 minutes. I have 25. So it's okay. no, because I cannot. Stop. Okay, so it's completely repeatable, and okay, there is it's cut the link, but if you go to the Pharo page, you will see in the README that information that you are watching there, and if you do that, you will have a new version of an image, okay, in fact several versions of image from my minimal, metacello, blah 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 blah, and the final production image, and that will work exactly like that, and will produce the same image each time you execute the same process on the same commit, which is the idea. And the interesting part of this is you, as a user, you can also build your own image. You don't need to take our image as is. You can take the process and you do your own image with the packages that you want. For example, you can remove morphic if you do server, or you can do a lot of things like that. Then the second thing is how to store sources, and that's why we developed Iceberg. Iceberg, in fact, is an ongoing development from Pharo 5. In Pharo 6, we integrated as a preview, but we remade everything. I will not talk about that because, as you see, there is an asterisk there. Each thing that has an asterisk means that there is another presentation that will talk more in detail about it, which this afternoon, Michelle will talk about Iceberg. But basically we revamped for Pharo 7 the UI because the last UI was not doing what we wanted. And we also took the opportunity to develop a foundation of how we want to have our tools in the next generation tools. So Iceberg implements some of those ideas. And very important is that by developing Iceberg, in fact last year it was Miroslava, I think, that was committing in Windows some change, and it took like 20 minutes because he was working with Pharo sources 5.3. And that was, of course, not acceptable, and then we started developing what is called a tunnel format. And the tunnel format is one file per class, and a readable format to browse, and of course it scales, which file 3 does not. So this is how a tunnel file more or less see, which of course I think it's cool because it's something that people that does know Smalltalk and is browsing code will see it like a less alien format than the old file 3 or the chunk format. Is something that they can more or less recognize, but even that is exporting Smalltalk in a proper way. Then, well, this is more or less the UI, the three fundamental browsers from repositories, from package image view and repository view, and then one thing that probably is not stressed enough is that the fact that we control everything allows us to have things like this cool thing that is we add a button into the browser, and if the method is in a package that is connected to an Iceberg repository, you will have the full history from the beginning of times of that method. And that thing is cool. But well, this is just pieces that allows us to define actually a new process. And the new process is Bootstrap and with sources in Git, which allows us to do proper branching, do proper pull request, and work in a more modern, if you want, or more a la mode way. Again, there is an asterisk, which means that Guille, too, will talk about this process, the contribution process, so it's okay.
Friday, I will do that.
What?
You can help me on Friday.
Okay, we will talk about the new contribution process. I will have a header, but okay. So, basically, you have the sources there, you can add issues, and the important part here is that each pull request that you do is tested intensively with our CI, which is in Jenkins because it allows pipelines. So this is a screenshot of all the pull requests, but not all, but some of the pull requests, the others are behind. Validated, of course there are a lot of that are in red, but it's okay. Then when they are green, we can or not accept it, depending on the code review that we do, but each validation follows up this pipeline, which means that for each pull request, a full image is built. In fact, two full images, a kernel image and an image, and then the full Pharo battery test is passed for each one of the major platforms, for Linux, Mac, and Windows, and if it passes, then we can integrate. Then we have, in general, we have always code review, and the idea is that we will not accept any contribution that is not properly tested and documented, which is something new for everybody because we have a lot of things that still need to be properly documented. So, as I say, it's a reproducible process, is verified. It allows us to distribute also the ownership because since sources are available, the process of building is available to everybody. We can say, okay, you are better in Morphic, you will take all the issues that has to be with Morphics and that, so we can distribute some ownership. It gives us a lot of visibility, and it allows us to prepare next steps like release often, backward better, and even thinking having a long-term support version because we can. And the process is working fine. Since we started in some months ago, I don't remember exactly, we have processed more than
November.
In November. We started in November, we have processed more than 1,700 pull requests. Those are contributed by 63 contributors and 104 GitHub forks. And that is not counting some tools that are managed outside, like Iceberg and Calypso and that. So I think it took some time, but now the process is working fine. And of course, we did a lot of things more, because it's not just that we did that, but all our process, but outside process, we changed the system browser, because the old Nautilus was not making us happy anymore. They had limitations in his design, especially for doing remote work, so we needed to replace it with a special design for efficiency in information. We did the next step in traits, and now we have stateful traits. There is a talk by Pablo about that. We did a full refactor of streams. In fact, we didn't do a refactor of stream. We used what it was already there, and we cleaned up the old stuff because it was not good. We did a small change that can affect the life of a lot of people, which is the working directory. Now it's a real working directory, and does not point to the image directory. So you have working directory, which is where you started the image, you started Pharo, and you have an image directory, which is where the image goes. Then UEFI now works also for Windows 64-bit in a transparent way, which means Windows 64-bit is almost ready. There is just a small glitches, but it's ready to test. Even Iceberg, everything is working fine in 64-bit. The only thing that is still not working completely is Athens, but all the rest is working. And we are in our plugin replacement program, which is we want to move the most quantity of plugins that we can into the image. Why? Because then we can maintain it better, and it's simpler for us. We are doing Smalltalk and not C. We are more Smalltalkers, and we do not have so many VM developers, so it's better to have it there, and we can control it better. So we did it for the free type plugin, which was presented problems since a lot of time, and we are doing it with SSL. Then the Open Smalltalk VM, which is part of Pharo. I'm quite sure that Elliot will think the opposite, and the Pharo is part of the Open Smalltalk VM, but okay, we see it this way. We use that. It has continued improving a lot also in this year. And we are adding a new tool that is ours is in development since a lot of time, but now we are actually doing the default download, which is the Pharo launcher. We are working on it. It has an asterisk because it's stuff. It's going to be working. We're talking about it later. I don't know when, but in this conference. So that's what we did for Pharo 7, which I think is not a small chunk of changes. But Pharo 7 will be released November or December, if everything goes fine. So what will be Pharo 8? What will be the story for Pharo 8? We are still not sure, and we are not completely decided, but we were thinking that Pharo 8 should be about headless, about having real headless Pharo images. Yes. Why? Because we think that the start of the work of any graphical engine should be a responsibility of the image, not the VM. And why? Because then you can decide not to start anything and have a proper server. Here there is people doing microservices here, like Socorize and Speinenker, and many people use Pharo as a server for web applications, and they don't have a need of consuming those cycles of non-shown morphics. Just for the record, there is a headless mode today in the VM, but in fact it has a head, it's just not being shown, it's hide. but the graphical engine is start and it's there, it's just that you are not seeing it. So we want real headless, not starting anything. Is that, and there is already a prototype. Ronnie worked in a prototype that is called headless that is working in the 3 platforms, but it's a prototype, we still need to work on it. I've been testing it last 3 months and works fine, but has some glitches. And that will force us to work in different things that we think that are good for the community. For example, OS Windows SDL2 backend, because if we are going to start the work, we need to show it somewhere, and that is using OS Windows and SDL backend, which, by the way, allows us to clean up a little bit more the VM, because then we don't need the display plugin. The display infrastructure can be in the image, so it's okay. Then we will need finally to work in threaded FFI, because we need to have an efficient FFI system for doing all the UI interaction stuff. And we need better command line tools, so we will integrate Club as part of our base. And some other stuff. This is not related to the story, but it's always something that needs to be improved. We are finally moving our issue tracker, or we are going to try. I think everything that you see in Pharo for Pharo 8 is still potentially something that we want to do, but it depends on other things if we are able to do it. We will move the issue tracker to GitHub. Why? Because it allows better circuits integration now that we are doing pull requests, and that is easier to manage everything there instead having to go to report an issue to Fogbox, for Telegram, and then move it, and then we have to put a link of one or the other if we want to connect it, and it's better if we use the full infrastructure. It simplifies things. And it allows us to use another tools that are built around, like Pharo or something like that. We will continue removing duplications. We will enhance spec and the UI components that is spec. And we want to make finally 64-bit the default document, which, of course, it will be available now, but it's not going to be the default. That means making it the default means that the 32-bit path starts the deprecation path slowly. It will still be around some years, but for example, in Mac, in 1 or 2 years, it will not have any sense because they will not allow to run 32-bit applications anymore. So from here, this was more or less our roadmap. What are we going to do for Pharo 8 and what we already did for Pharo 7? Now, real thing is how to give coherence to Pharo development itself. It's not just the artifact Pharo that has to be coherent. We want to have coherence in the development too. I'm sorry, I need to separate this. Okay, I can go. Okay, but I think I managed to handle the idea. So, how I still have 10 minutes. Okay. How do we give coherence to Pharo development? As I said, Pharo development, Pharo itself, in fact, is more than the artifact, is the community that plus Pharo, which is composed by companies, organizations, and individuals, persons that make Pharo and contribute to it in some way. Not just by actually fixing something or something, but just communicating something is important and makes you part of a community. Just saying, okay, I think this could be better, or this. But sometimes it's good, sometimes it's very good to have messages, okay, I'm very happy and my work was properly done. Thanks guys, because we always receive the mails that says, okay, this does not work, this is a crap. Okay, please. Sometimes an encouraged mail will be well received. But okay, but sending a mail that says that something is not working properly, or having ideas or how something will work, everything makes you a part of this community. And this community is not a small community anymore. Okay, it's not a mainstream language community, but it's a community that has certain numbers and needs to be handled. For example, in both lists, Pharo Dev and Pharo users, there are, in fact, I was lazy to consult the real number, and since I knew that it was more than 1,000, I put 1,000. But I think they should be closer to 1,500,000, 1,300 users than just 1,000. What I do know, because I'm the owner of Discord, the Discord group, is that there are 586 users of Discord registered, but they have some duplications and that, so that means removing all duplication, so there is a little bit more of 400 users that are actively using Discord and participate in discussions. And since we are in GitHub, something started to happen, that is basically people start to discuss in GitHub in the pull request, and finally, because of that, they also started to discuss in the Pharo tracker, because we said, okay, this is in the Bible, and which up to now the tracker was just used to report, and all discussion happened elsewhere. But now it's happening some interesting discussion there. That's why we want to join it, because otherwise to have the full track of a discussion, you have to go to both places now. But okay. So, I think all of this needs to be structured in some way, and of course we need to ensure that this is going to continue working. And for that, we have the Pharo Consortium. We already talked that last year, and I'm going to review this year. The Pharo Consortium is what pays my salary, which is the most important part, in my point of view. But now, talking for real, Pharo Consortium is a non-profit organization, which is started at INRIA by 2012, which is not casually the same year that I started to work on it, because part of my work was to bootstrap this. And since the beginning of this year, is officially hosted in the INRIA Foundation, which is a part of INRIA, but a different part. I will talk in the 2 slides later. But okay. The Pharo Consortium has some goals that are more or less, but they are not the same of the Pharo itself goals, because our purpose is to keep Pharo going, keep Pharo evolving. And we take the responsibility of deliver update versions of Pharo that match industry standards or industry needs. And we also take the responsibility of structure in some way the community, and trying to make sure that companies, both companies and individuals, can get an impact in Pharo. So we are now part of the INRIA Foundation, and the INRIA Foundation is an interesting initiative. Basically, it's an umbrella to host different consortiums that were developing INRIA labs. I don't know, the INRIA research part. Is Pharo there, but it's also Cog, which sounds weird in English, but okay, Cog. And there is SOFA too, and there are some other consortiums there. The idea is that is to share the resources, share engineering resources, and to share also administrative resources. That makes everything more efficient. For example, I don't have to take care about the contracts that the company signed with Pharo. We have a complete office that is dedicated to that, and they can take care correctly. So I can concentrate in what I do best. And also, since there is a team of engineers, each one works in their own consortium, but we all share together, for example, CI or knowledge or different things. And it's part of the Software Heritage Foundation, which is a UNESCO, I don't know in English, but I suppose it's UNESCO too, the ONU organization for the UNA organization for the culture. That is something to keep the software legacy available. Basically, it's like a web archive, but cool. And well, other advantages is that it gives us some visibility, and basically knowing that we are supported by an institution like INRIA, and we will continue to be supported by that institution, gives some solidity and security to possible users of Pharo in industry, because that means that it will continue there. And it has a legal department in case we have problems. We'll have people to help in business development, and there is something that, thanks to that, we can accept donations for France and the United States. I don't know why the rest of Europe is still not, but it will be there eventually, with a lot of tax discount, which for certain companies is important. So, since last year we have grown a little bit. There are five. I'm starting to Italy. 5 industrial members, 4 academic new. This is their photos. Thank you very much, guys. In the consensus site you can see the full list of them. So, and well, last year in a meeting here we decided how we are going to be managed, and the consortium itself decided that the structure that will manage the consortium will be a team of 3 from the RMoD team to ensure the continuity of the vision, the 2 members of the Pharo Consortium, the engineers, and 2 other members chosen by the Pharo Consortium members. So this has to be, but these 2 members need to be renewed once a year at least, I think. They can repeat, of course, and this is in the document, the structure I'm just passing through because I'm running out of time, but you can consult there. But we did a process of selection, and this is the new board. Oh, and you will see 6, not 7. But there's Steph, Marcus, Guille joined as part of the RMoD team. Norbert, I was here just a minute. Yes, Norbert is part of the board from the consortium, as representative of the consortium, along with Sven van Kalkenberg. Yes, I pronounced it fine.
Are they really an even number, or are their names cut off?
No, there was, it's me, and there is a line that says there is a free slot that will be occupied when we hire the second consortium member. It's cut. But there was 7 bullets, but just 6 names anyway. Well, how we, what the consortium does to keep earning money, basically to keep Pharo going. Basically, we have a business model that is divided into 2. We call it Pharo Daily and Pharo for You. What is each one? Well, the Pharo Daily is what you know that we do. We do Pharo, and we try to ensure that Pharo is good for business, and the companies doing Pharo have an interest in give us some money so they are sure that we are going to continue doing it. And Pharo will not die, and they will get better and better versions of that. We also take care about the ecosystem, not just Pharo itself, but we take care about certain packages like databases and graphics or something like that people need for develop their business. And then we have this other part, which is Pharo for you, that is you can contact us to have support for migrations from older versions of Pharo, for other languages, for whatever you want. You can contact us. You can help on development practices, on have information. Even beginning of this year or last year, I don't even remember, I went to Spain to do a small workshop with people there. They are present here now. And we can also develop custom libraries and framework. For example, we are talking with the Thales people because they need a Corva bridge, Corva component, and we are not talking still, but in general, the idea is that we will do that for them, and they will put it available for the community too. That's the idea. So the consortium benefits is people joining the consortium will have privileged access to the core development team, which means me. No, but not just me. I made the job, but I'm the responsibility. There is a team that is larger than me. They can influence priorities. They have in different, there is Latino, Gold, Silver, and Bronze members, and there are different plans that gives access support time from the team. They can publish job posts, and they have training and conference access. Not this one is not a Pharo one, but for example, Pharo-based have discount access like that. And we put also in the table the fact that now, thanks to the Pharo Consortium and also all the work that we have there, we have now high expertise engineers that they are for hire, and it wants to be us who will hire, but we still don't have enough resources though. So I encourage people wanting to talk with them to actually do it. But we will hire our second permanent engineer soon. Of course, in these things, sooner the better, but we don't know exactly when, but it's going to be soon. And in fact, we are ambitious. We want to build a path that will allow us in some years to have a team of 4 permanent engineers working in Pharo. Of course, 1 is good, 2 is better, and 4 is a really good number that allows you to have continuity. But then that's about the Pharo Consortium. But the Pharo Consortium is just a player, I think not a small player, but a player in what is, and we know that it's a bigger community. Pharo is a lot more than the Pharo Consortium. It's all the community that I mentioned, and even people that we don't know. Time to time, we receive some mail of people that are doing things in places that we didn't know that exist, and that, so we are very happy with it. But the Pharo Consortium is our way to ensure what has been from day one the ultimate goal of Pharo, which is to build a powerful engine to invent your future. And it's completely on purpose that I'm using the same slides from 5 years before. And to build an ecosystem where innovation and business both can bloom. Because at the end, our motto always, and our best message always is the Pharo is yours. Thank you very much. by default, not plans, but not concrete plans, specific plans about that. But if you see the path we are doing, we are going in remote debugging, remote connections and IoT, and we are precisely wanting to do the headless stuff so we can actually go in a better way there. When we have that pieces together, then we can think in having a distribution, something that people can install in Raspberry Pi and get that. To be honest, we have problems building Pharo distributions for all Linux distributions possible. Holger did, Holger, I don't know how it's pronounced because it's a German name, so I'm not pronouncing it in English because it's German. Holger? That's the last name. He did an open build service structure for Pharo, and we want to use that, and that will allow us also to build for specific small distributions. But yes, it's an idea, but we still do not have a concrete plan, a roadmap for doing it. We are arriving there. Maybe for Pharo 9 it will be possible. I don't think, but if someone wants to do it, we can work together. Thing is allocation of resources, as always. We have the roadmap, but we have the idea, we have the how to do it, but we don't have a concrete roadmap. Yeah. Next question. Yes?
You talked about modularization a little bit. So for me that always means namespaces. Is there any news on that?
Yes.
There is another.
I just will say we will not have namespaces, but we will have something better.
When? Yes.
When we have the resources to work on it. We have prototypes.
You see, I think that GitHub was a lot more important. So this means that last year we presented the undefined classes. The undefined classes is a part of what we need for classes. The idea is that you can have a class whose superclass would be undefined at some point, like the undefined reference. You know, when in your method body you have a reference to a class that does not exist, the system does not collapse. You say, oh, I don't know this reference. So last year what we did the same for superclass. Why that? This is not just because we have fun. This is because if you have, imagine you have a module system or namespace and you import from a class. Okay, it works, you are super happy. And then you say, oh no, I don't like this import, I want to remove it. What's happened to your system when you remove it? Should I remove all the subclasses and things like that? No, we want to have something that we can say, oh, we want to change the import binding of this superclass, and then I can say, oh, I would like to rebind it to this new class there. So that's why we did this, and this is a bit, the system should not break when we are doing that. And then we started to work on how do we cut the global namespace into some little namespaces, and where do you put them, and make experiment, and we built several systems, in fact, and we will resume this work now. But in fact, we were killed by Iceberg. So, and I think that the presence...
As with the Titanic, it was bigger than we thought.
Yes. No, Iceberg is dangerous, you don't see what is under the sea, so it's like, it's the problem. So now we get to the point where we can manage big systems with Iceberg, so this is cool. So this means that we will be able to resume the work on the, I don't know if that will be called namespace, we will see. But the idea is that we want to split the global namespace into chunks and things like that to have more modularity. And the problem is that once we will do that, it means that we have to adapt the complete system. You see, we should not have global reference to Smalltalk, this one. There is only one. So we prepare that, and then people still use the global one. So, and the tools and things like that. So this is but we will work on. We made progress up until April this year.
So just one thing, as you say, before starting Pharo 8 development, actually, Pharo Consortium members will receive a list of things that we think we could work this year, and they will be able to prioritize it, which has. So, if you want modules or namespace or whatever, prioritize it. Just tell us we want that, because we are here for please you.
Not only, not always.
Not in any way, but okay.
Don't believe, not always. I can guarantee you that.
No.
Be sure.
We will not give you what you want, we will give you what you need. Just one question more and we can go to if there are questions? Yes.
What are the plans for long-term support versions?
So,
Yeah.
Just a remark.
You will see in the talk of Christophe, I don't know where he is,
There.
with the Pharo launcher, you can open an image of Pharo 1.1. I don't remember when we produced Pharo 1.1, but it was probably 2009 or 2000. Yes, 2009. So you see, so this is just to show you that yes, we take care of the old things, and that you can still launch on your crappy OS. I don't know which one is it, but there is one, I'm sure. This old version. So for the FTS, this is something else.
Yes, we have not just ideas here. Yes, we want to do it, as I say. I told person that, but in the slides. But now we are starting to have the pieces together to have an actual good release system. That we can say, okay, this is Pharo 700, and then we just Pharo 701, and not just a Pharo 7 and a Pharo 7 latest. No, it's just, this is fundamental for us to be able to apply backwards and doing
Even if we do,
this is, I think, this is the
backward, we do it. So
yes, we do it, but it's complicated. The idea is that now, since you can do a pull request to different branch, you can backward easier. And then, there is how we will be able to actually produce a long-term support version. So that's the roadmap. First, we are going to start to release with semantic version numbers, and then we will be able to do it. So it will be, I don't know if for Pharo 8, but for sure for Pharo 9. Also, I don't know if Pharo 7 will be long-term support, I don't think, but most probably Pharo 8 will be a long-term support version. But
right now we support Pharo 6 and Pharo 7. So this means that the critical bugs, they are backported, even without Git, tags, whatever. So this is something that we actively do. So this means that we have basically already nearly 2 or 3 years of window. So this is, and he dreams about something that would make his life easier, and I can understand that. But we do it, we already pay attention to that.
Okay, thank you very much.